let's begin, as I was just saying, that we would think that Urko would fall to his terrible death, but instead he's walking very calmly on air, and is holding this extremely dramatic looking and dangerous kind of 1980s fantasy movie staff with a skull spiking through it, right? And it is definitely not looking all ruined like it did before, but is now, uh, you know, emanating power. Um, and then we have both Zort and Skava, if I remember correctly, or was it just Skava who has joined him? Or was Zort still on the ground? Can someone remind me?
Sword is... Go ahead.
Yeah, Sword was being carried away.
Oh, that's right. It is Zort we are following, as usual.
Yeah.
Zort is being carried away by the three Velocipteranodons. Velocipterodactylraptors, or whatever I decided that they were. And
I think they were pterodactyls.
They were pterodactyls, but I decided to make it a little bit more exciting in my head, so now they have sort of slight...
They change all the time. Everything around us changes all the time. Didn't you realize that?
They are extremely large, remember? They have actually been shifting back through time, and so now they are truly Cretaceous monsters. So now we have I know Cretaceous is the latest age, the last age, but yep. I know all about that, okay? We are not being particularly scientific here. And so the older, the further back you go, the bigger and the meaner and the cooler. That's the logic we are using. So,
of course.
Now the next step is to remind us of Skava, who I believe is now still on her dragonfly, and has arrived, now I remember, has arrived next to Urko, and it has adjusted to the new the new circumstance. But both of you are watching Zort being carried into the center of a truly cosmic visual display of either the beginning or the end of time. Now, I will tell you what Zort is experiencing instead of the other two, just so we get a look at Zort's decisions. All right. The vision or the experience you have, remember from far away, you could see these enormous, almost abstract forms of Zhong and and that they were, the visual effect, whether you want to think of it as a static or video kind of effect, or a psychedelic, an oil and water, the toy that you do this with, and doing this, and some effect of that kind is occurring between their forms. But as you come closer, you will find that there are two people who, and you are no longer really flying. The beasts disintegrate off into the abstractions of non-existence, and you are confronted with two people who are I'm trying to describe their circumstances. What kind of space are you in? What does this look like? And the answer is it must be whatever circumstance that you find the most comfortable, the safest, the place Zort would really like to be if he were not in the middle of all kinds of trouble. What would it look like?
It would most likely take him back from before this entire campaign against the gods before time. To the temples where he served, so to say. Or managed to get in as a layman.
So there you would have probably lived in a dormitory of some kind. And the effect that you see as you literally walk into this kind of safe space is two people who are seated together on the bed, but not in a healthy way. They are they look as though they have curled up upon the bed, and one is crushed into a corner, and they are in extreme suffering. And one of them is a strange-looking, very pale man with long, almost white hair, although it's not white like age. It is just very, very pale blonde, and he is looking at you. He looks kind of familiar, and he stretches out his hand to you for help, and says, "She is crushing me. She will collapse. She will squish me into nothing." And the woman who is seated there, who looks like she once was physically very powerful, but now all of her body form has been wasted and almost decayed. So literally her face looks as though some of the flesh on it is dying. Her huge bags under her eyes, big black under her eyes. And she looks at you and holds out her hand and says, "He is going to be my death. He will kill me." So and they even say almost simultaneously, "You can't let them win." So this is the symbolic way for your minds to process what you are seeing, because it's incomprehensible to human eyes. So that means your mind is finding a way to make it coherent. Now, Urko, it's time for a occult lore roll, and also for Skava. As the two of you approach, and Zort becomes an immense figure of suspended in the air with his arms spread wide. He's glowing there in front of the two of you. The grounds, you guys were not far away from the grounds, but it is gone. You are now in cosmic space. So how do the rolls look?
I got an 8.
Okay.
I got a 53.
Both of you are very
So
good.
I barely made it.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm excited by that. That means nothing, of course, so success is a success for a skill roll, but we all know it feels good to just make it. So the Urko, the information that I have for you is quite powerful. You are holding an object of extreme chaos and extreme death. And the deathly aspect, the death aspect is what is happening here at this time. That the death of basically the death of everything. It's where time is going to go, after all. We see it over and over, repeated, rehearsed, in a way. And then the other thing that you see is the fate, the way things, given the way things are, the way they have to go. If the situation is a certain way, then there is a way that it is going to go. And so with these two runes, which I pictured in the chat, the fate looks like an X with a line straight through it. It's not quite an asterisk. And then there is death, which looks just like a cross. Or rather, I should say a Christian cross. So those are the two runes that are active. The wands that you are holding is chaos and death, but there is also the powers of chaos and fate. What you cannot, what I'm saying is that her cult, and Zhong, his cult, they both have chaos. But the fate aspect and the death aspect are locked in combat. They are deadlocked. Fate and death, if you put fate and death together and expand their powers in conflict, you're going to bring the end of everything. The story will be finished. The whole story, the big story. This is the end of the story in which the gods were the main characters. So
that's what to take in.
Skava. This is what you understand. Cult is... Wait, sorry. Your cult is... I use the man rune to basically mean humans. Or at least not just humans, but the aspect of walking, talking, moving, and things like that we call human.
Living beings.
True. But in the runes somewhat unfairly distinguish man and beast and plant and things like that. But anyway, so but your whole cult is man and plant and harmony. So you have the man rune. And the insect people's cult, which is very similar, it has an aspect of beast for their insect nature. And so the thing that is making you very powerful right now is that all of the cults you have been contacting have been centered around how does being human fit into everything else. We have the man rune and it goes in combination with other things. What we don't have in any of the cults, this is the insight that your understanding has finally provided for you. What you don't have in any cult is chaos and man. There is no cult for that. So that's the metaphysics of your situation that probably makes sense to your characters in an extremely symbolic way, a way that you and I as modern people do not quite, think about.
Shouldn't there be such a thing?
Now, your character is not a philosopher, but you have had terrible, terrible insights into things that no person really should have. And if you combined chaos and man, then that means that humans and time would be harmonized. Humans and time would have a relationship. Right now, their only relationship is with fate and death. So that is the current metaphysical, craziness that you are facing.